when we go to interview in this neighborhood, most times I go to interview, you know whose yard they pull up a picture of?
Whose?
It's yours.
That's so cute. Even with the graveyard in front that we're gonna fix.
It's just, that is a blip in the rest of how awesome
Oh,
it
I
is.
love that.
Yeah.
That's so cute.
It's so cool. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, that's fun.
It is
That's Nicole's
fun.
garden. Yeah. And I think that like kind of speaks to like your ability to be brave and branching out from the common, like Jones in this neighborhood, because the stiff manicured garden like is the traditional look.
Yeah, it
So
really is.
Yeah, with like all these tutors around.
Yeah,
And you were like, nope, we're gonna meadow. We're gonna Swedish meadow at that.
we are.
And how did that land when you were starting to like after it was built and your neighbors were seeing this? Were like, what was the response?
People seem to really love it. I mean, it is funny. We do at least 3 or 4 times a week see somebody out there snapping photos of the garden. And sometimes I'm like, what are they doing out there? And then I see them pull out their phone and take a little picture of something or a little video. They're usually kind of undercover, which is funny to me. I have seen more wild gardening, if you will, popping up throughout the neighborhood. And it's fun to think that maybe your design and our design plan is a part of that to bring more bees, pollinators into the Eastmoreland landscape. That's exciting.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
so exciting.
Yeah.
It's like solving world problems right there.
I mean, the little bit we can do in our micro community, in our micro garden, even, it's very exciting.
Now that you're 5 years into your garden, you're probably seeing some things that worked and some things that didn't work.
Yes.
As somebody who's received a garden and also being in the real estate and construction and design world, you probably realize that gardens aren't like tile. They don't just like set it and forget it. But how is it experienced as somebody who knows that and has received a garden and see it change over time?
Oh, it's so fascinating because it's not just through the seasons that it's changing, it's year by year as different plants have matured. Some are thriving and others are just looking pretty sad. And so it's really fun to come back through with a fresh set of eyes after living with it for 5 years and deciding what works and what doesn't, what we want to see more of. And I am excited just to have this opportunity to do another iteration of a space we already love, to make it even more exciting for us and more livable. We had an issue where I'm not going to say any names, but the other adult that lives in this house went through and pulled all the flowers thinking they were weeds. And so I'm so excited to add flowers back into our beautiful garden.
I feel like that's huge for like people who have a landscape maintenance team or like DIYing their own maintenance is,
Yeah.
Things move around the garden like year after year. And I feel like unless you're really getting like intimately knowing the different stages of a flower
Right.
throughout the seasons, it's really hard as a like new to your garden steward to know exactly like what to pull, when to pull it, and if it's a need or if it's not.
Yeah. Even if we have a play-by-play or a playbook or instruction manual, I think that still might be a possibility, that things accidentally get touched that shouldn't. But I think part of this whole process is hopefully learning to be better stewards. And I'm curious about that. What is your take on DIY gardening and maintenance versus bringing in some professionals to keep it looking its best?
I feel like my favorite thing is when people do their own gardening because they know their plants and they like get excited about the different stages of it. So they're like, wow, that's that GM that I love seeing. That's that echinacea that I'm really excited to see again this year. And I remember its leaves. So like, I'm definitely going to wait
Yeah.
to make sure that that is what I think it is before I pull it.
Yeah.
And like, it doesn't always happen, right? Like there's a familiarity that comes with time. So the first couple years, I like understand when people pull stuff unintentionally.
Right.
And I worry when there are more like there are landscape kind of mow and blow crews that come through people's gardens, that the way that they treat them is very different because they don't always have the horticultural background or like the gardening design background where like they know what every perennial that's out there, which are like thousands and thousands,
Right.
even in just our region, to So, like in the front, we've also gone from the lawn to now the gravel patio.
Yeah.
And tell me a little bit about like your guys' thought process because there was a hard, like, we gotta have the lawn at the very beginning.
Well, that was the other adult in the house as well that really wanted to have that lawn. And since he's been the one maintaining that lawn, I think he has just completely changed his entire outlook on it and realized that there's no reason for us to be spending the water on that or the time on it. And having this one small space back here that already has, is this gravel, quarter minus, what do we call this?
Quarter minus.
Quarter minus. I think it's just been really nice to see how easy it is just to rake this up and then it doesn't require any other maintenance besides that. Um, and then we get to fill in a little bit more space in the front with more plantings, which are much more beautiful than grass.
Mm-hmm.
More exciting. So
Definitely.
everyone's happy in this situation. It just took us a little bit of time to get there and all be on the same page.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like the iconic American front yard, I think up until this point has been like the lawn in the front yard that never gets used.
Right.
And especially coming from, I don't know, I don't know if that's the same in Sweden, but like I know that's an icon of like an American front yard.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Swedish gardens are kind of all over the place. There's a lot less of this very manicured grass area and a lot more plantings. They even oftentimes will take the middle of their yard and have some random shape that they've decided to plant in. And it's a lot more wild and less maintained. It just their landscaping is so different too. So I don't think it was that. I think it was the American dream more than the Swedish background that led him to. Or maybe there was an idea that someday he was going to be able to putt on that grass. You know, golf might have been in the background or something.
Yeah.
But we realized that's not happening. So I think we're all really excited to have just a lower maintenance, less water usage, and prettier, in my opinion, space to hang out in the front. And the one takeaway Callie had when we were talking through everything this week as we were preparing for this third iteration of the Friday garden was bees. He really, really, really wants more bees in the yard. So he feels really passionate about that. And it's exciting. So
Oh my gosh.
let's pick stuff out based on that. And I want to have the blooms as early as possible and as late as possible, even for selfish reasons.
Mhm.
So the fact that that actually is helping the bee population, I'm all in.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that's really a fun way to start to think about like how your garden is this microcosm of ecological development, right? And like you get the opportunity to be a stopping point, a little node within, especially like Eastmoreland, where it's very much like boxwoods and lawns.
Yeah. We hired you because you were offering us the full gamut of services that we were looking for at that time, which was to sit with me through the design process, bring that design to life by bringing in contractors that you had solid relationships with. And everything felt so streamlined and smooth on the client side, which is something that is invaluable. And it made the entire process not just fun, but also just very calming and reassuring. People showed up when they said they were going to show up. Everybody got along. There was laughing on the job site. It was done before you said it was going to be done, which I know is not always the case, but it ended up that way for us. And we were able to enjoy this a lot sooner than we thought we were going to be able to. So from the very beginning of planning phases all the way through execution to the final stages of moving in and living and enjoying the space, we wanted to do the outdoor before we even started doing the inside because of the season we were moving in. But also pandemic hit, you wanted to be outside in your garden and enjoy that. And it was just really lovely to have that full experience with Blueprint Earth from start to finish. And I didn't have to worry about anything. By that point, also, we'd already worked on a previous garden with you, so we already had an established relationship. And that obviously helped in just the entire process, knowing that I could trust you to execute the design we had discussed.
Being a designer, I feel like it's sometimes I really love working with other designers, but I think other designers sometimes maybe think it's hard to work with another designer.
Yeah.
And I'm curious like how that felt from your perspective because you pretty much have two queens in the room, right? Who like have great perspectives.
Well, I felt like, I mean, I usually feel like two brains are better than one. And I think especially, I will never pretend that exterior anything is my forte. I'm very much an interior stylist, interior designer. I knew a feeling that I wanted out here, and through imagery, I was able to share that with you. It was helpful for me being a designer, actually working with you as a landscape designer, because that allowed me to think about the way I like working with my interior clients, which is show me what you love, and then I'll help you bring that to life in a way that works for you. And so I got to experience that for the first time ever with you in a space that I would not have been able to ever execute this on my own. So it was, I thought it was really great. So hopefully I was not a difficult client because I have a strong design opinion.
Not at all. I mean, it's like it's super fun when you like you're saying like two minds are better than one. It's a lot of fun when we put like both of us in the room because you were like, okay, I want a pergola just like I had at my last house, which like we didn't design. It was something you did. Like and I was like, yeah, got you. I know. You're like, I want a boardwalk. How like let's see if we can make that happen.
Right.
You know, and I want a space where we get like you had such clear aesthetic and dreams that it really was just like helping kind of figure out the constructability and the layout and the way that we could fit it into budget and if we had to make any changes design wise or like really kind of how do we like layer in the fringe in terms of plants. But like for me it's really fun working with designers because there's so much that gets brought to the table in terms of vision that we really just get to like play,
Yeah.
you know. And I feel like it's actually an opportunity to kind of like take something and stretch it to be even cooler, you know, instead of it being a challenge. I always find my favorite clients are people who are like also in a design background.
Yeah.
Because it becomes like a lot more collaborative and playful.
Yeah. Collaboration and play is fun. I mean, that's a big piece of why we liked working with you and why we're still working with you, is that it's always felt collaborative. And I don't think a lot of designers are that way. So I think it's been really great. Even your patience is really nice too. There's been patience around, hey, how about this bench? And yeah, that bench looks great. And then the other person making a decision, Callie again, it's like, no, I don't know about that one. Looks like a park bench. And then, you know, a year later, he sends it to us. And what did we end up with? That park bench looks great. And now we have them everywhere.
It looks great. Yeah. I know. I
So-
think we've seen in here like that patience and that iteration. Like I
Yeah.
think that's actually a really cool perspective for like your guys' experience too, is it's like you think you know, right?
Yeah.
Like we see it a lot with clients. Like they think they know. We try to talk them into a decision because, you know, not because we know, but because we have a vision, right?
Well, and also because you do know, because you're familiar with what's available, what survives in this climate, what looks good in the garden design, you do know. So we have to trust that you know, but also some people just take a little longer to get there. So I really appreciate your patience. That's been really, really nice. Just not from, not in the way that it feels like you ever push us in anything, but that you actually let us come to our own senses with the initial design that was shared with us. So
Thanks.
yeah,
That's fun.
yeah, it is fun. I would have said yes from the beginning, just to be clear, but